Hey, what's up guys, Lord Civic here, and today we're going to be doing a video that has been long requested from viewers on this channel, and that is a OLED picture settings recommendation video from me. Now, I didn't say A95L because I'm going to be covering basically settings on all OLED displays. I did have LG prior to this, and what a lot of people don't know is, yes, there is some settings that are like totally different, but a lot of settings are very similar, and the verbiage is just different, and most of the values are very similar and stuff like that. With this video, I'm going to be covering HDR, which is going to be covering movies and TV shows in HDR. We're going to be also doing a subsection on gaming, and then the last but not least, we're going to be doing an SDR, which is going to kind of cover gaming, watching animation, and then also watching like non-HDR movies and TV shows. Now, in saying that, I'm going to be using the devices, an Apple TV, a Shield TV, and then a PlayStation 5. You're also going to be seeing gameplay throughout the video of like some stuff from my older videos and then some stuff that I haven't uploaded just yet. Now, I was saying that if you guys have any questions, please make sure to have a discussion in the comment section below. I will try my best to answer all the questions, but a lot of you guys that have the newer like LG and Samsung TVs might have a better idea of answering people's questions below. Now, I'm saying that, hope you guys enjoy this video. Let's hop right in. So the first OLED settings that we're going to cover, like I said, is going to be HDR. This is going to cover basically your usage when you're watching Blu-ray HDR movie, 4K Blu-ray HDR. You're watching something on Netflix or Hulu or any other streaming platform, HBO Max, that uses HDR, and TV shows and other different stuff like that. As I said, we are using a Sony A95L, so I'm going to open up the menu right here. You're going to see me switching behind the wallpaper. We're using the Apple TV. This is basically like my HDR device that I use for a lot of streaming services and different stuff like that. So, first setting I'm going to cover is the picture mode. Now, I personally use Cinema, or in LG's case, Cinema Home. I don't know what it's named on Samsung, instead of the professional mode. Now, there's nothing wrong with using the professional mode. I just don't think that the colors pop and it's not as bright as I want it to be. But I know that's because it's supposed to be a downright accurate representation of what the creator intended, but I kind of like to tinker the settings a little bit, and I know a lot of you guys like to tinker the settings a little bit as well. So like a lot of you guys, I'm going to use Cinema, or as I said, the Cinema Home setting. First thing is brightness. Now, honestly, you should just keep that at max. For a long time, peak brightness on OLED displays were like 600, 700, 800 nits. A lot of time, people like me and you guys are buying the newer HDR displays is because of the ridiculous level of brightness that they're able to reach. I won the panel lottery with my A95L, and I'm able to hit up to 1600 nits, which just looks absolutely bombastic in games like Alan Wake 2 and other movies and different stuff like that. So recommend keeping that at max no matter what OLED display you have. Contrast, I have it 90. Now, I remember when I had my LG CX, I had it at 85. I don't remember if that was the default setting or I just kind of liked the way the picture looked a little bit more on 85 for LG. Now, with saying that, thing about LG and Samsung, and this is not a knock at them because like they actually do quite a bit of stuff better than the Sony, like, you know, the different gaming modes and input lag and refresh rate and other different stuff like that. But because Sony is, you know, like a movie and TV show, like perfectly accurate, a lot of the settings you don't have to tinker with at all, and I would even go as far as to say there's like no point in professionally calibrating. When I had my LG, I professionally calibrated. I'm going to link my professionally calibrating video that I did a little while ago, and this is what I'm saying. I have the ISO set at a certain level, and it's not blown out like on the TV, like I can see it perfectly fine, but I just going to be switching between different stuff that picks up really well by the camera because this TV, as I said, gets really freaking bright. So contrast, keep at 90. Gamma, on this mode I have it 0, and this basically controls like the dark balance between whites and blacks. On gaming mode I do have it at -2, and I'll cover why that in a second. HDR tone mapping, because most of the time on my Apple TV I'm watching Dolby Vision content, I have HDR tone mapping off. Now, if you're watching HDR10 content, I recommend gradation preferred. If you want, you can put it on brightness preferred if that's your thing. But for Dolby Vision, for most of these displays that have Dolby Vision, like LG and Sony, you're going to want to just keep tone mapping off for this specific device in Dolby Vision anyway. Now, black level. This is going to be, I feel like, a little controversial for some people. So I have black level at 49 instead of 50, which is the default, I guess, on like every other device. And that's because when I'm doing content or watching movies and stuff like that, like the Batman, it's not like black levels are raised, but you know, the sequence in the Batman where Batman is in the elevator and he kind of like does the whole sequence or whatever, which is like really freaking cool, or anything with a silhouette or small things where like the blending between what's in the shot and black levels, I like the difference between those to be more subtle and different, subtle and seamless, instead of like, you know, grayish to black. I kind of like the shadow detail. Like it's kind of really hard to explain it, and like it's not really something I can really capture on the camera, because something might be too bright or whatever, and the camera's like has a lot of trouble with picking up like bright to dark stuff. But basically, the difference between like dark to light, different stuff, it just goes more seamlessly, and I like the transition period instead of seeing like, you know, black, gray, then just I like seeing, you know, instead of seeing like silhouette, grayish and black, I kind of like seeing silhouette then a little closer. The black, the silhouette to black goes more seamlessly. That's just really the best way to explain it. Black adjust level I have off. Basically, it kind of like raises the luminous level of the black levels, which does not really look that good, especially in HDR mode, because you'll get raised blacks. Advanced contrast enhancer, this really more so highlights when you're doing different stuff like bright content or like nature documentaries or movies where you're going to be like movies or TV shows where there's a lot of bright sequences and different stuff like that. It doesn't really bother the black levels, so I have that at medium. Now you might think that's a little strong, but as I said, a lot of these things are personal preference. Same thing as brightness. Keep the peak luminance at high. Like you're buying the TV for the brightness, or you not should, but like the reason you're spending the money on the more expensive OLED TVs is the brightness. Like that's really like the biggest increase. Color accuracy in this mode anyway, I like it to be as accurate as possible when it comes to accuracy, and that's what Sony does so freaking well. So I keep that at 50. Hue at 0. I have live color at low because I want that extra little punch of color, but I don't want it to be like super inaccurate, so that's why I don't have it at like high and I have it at low. So it's just like a little hint. Having it off, it's kind of like very difficult to see the difference between high, low and off, but like I like to just keep it low because I like that extra punch. Color temperature, very freaking important. I think every mode is called expert, or it might be something called different on LG and Samsung, but I have that at expert. Warm, neutral, and cool also all make the color temperature and the whole kind of sequence of the picture just is off. It's like, and the thing is with these OLED displays, you're buying them for the accuracy. So like, just like, I recommend keeping it expert. I know a lot of people like to use warm, and I understand it, and I did for like a short period of time, but like, your eyes will like adjust and you'll thank me later. Clarity. Now, this is going to be a little different because, you know, this takes into account upscaling technology, specific content you're watching, and different stuff like that. In different modes, I have this setting differently. So for regular 4K content and, you know, HDR content, I have this set at 50, just a default. There's no reason to really touch it. Now, reality creation, I believe this setting is exclusive to Sony TVs, and this is like, literally, I was like reading some forums and stuff before I did the video. A lot of people that literally buy just Sony TVs for the entire house because of this setting alone. So, that's, actually, I think I'm gonna set that. So it's kind of tricky to explain. So, basically, this is the upscaling of a Sony TV and like kind of like the magical work it does. Now, the higher the picture quality, you can kind of set the setting ridiculously high without getting like artifacts or whatever. For 4K content anyway, let me change this again, my apologies. For 4K content anyway, I like to keep it at 50 because it does a really good job of like super resolution, processing the image, noise reduction, and it does a phenomenal job on it, and it just looks absolutely insane. And especially in game, I'm playing Astrobot right now. I set the setting at 50 for 4K. Now, if you're watching something in 1080p or whatever, you got to tinker the settings. That's going to be different stuff like that. And we'll discuss that in a second. But this is a game-changing setting, and like basically, you really just want to find what's best for you, because it's not like to the point where it makes like jagged lines or makes it too sharp or like ugly or whatever. It does like a pretty good job, but use your eyes, figure out which setting works best for you. Now for 4K content, random noise reduction off, digital noise reduction off, smooth gradation, which is reducing noise and streaks. You get those like scan lines on TVs. If you guys watch my old X35 videos, that was a VA panel, and that did a really bad job of getting scan lines. I haven't really noticed it much, but you know, this setting is just on here as a just in case. Honestly, if you wanted to, you can keep it off. I don't think there's any reason to get super aggressive and keep it on. Maybe if you're watching STR content, but even in that case, I really don't think you would come with that problem. Motion flow, I have off. I guess I can kind of cover it, but basically you don't really want any motion smoothness. It's going to make the picture not look how it's supposed to look, and it just doesn't really do a good job. I think it's called, no, it's not called Cinemotion. Is it called Cinema Motion? I forgot what it's called on LG, and I'm guessing Samsung has a similar setting. Actually, I know what the setting's called because I have an OLED G9. I just can't think of it at this point. But basically, that goes over the HDR settings. Now we're going to hop into the gaming section. So the next part of the video that we're going to cover, and which is basically about maybe 80% or probably even more of what we cover on this channel, is gaming. Now, Astrobot came out last week, and my god, this game is freaking phenomenal. I just beat the first world just this morning, and I'm having an absolute blast with it. So we're going to stay at the home menu until we get to a certain point in the settings and different stuff like that. But just like a lot of games, basically if you're using like a newer console or PC or whatever, even if the game doesn't have HDR, it's most likely going to have auto HDR of some kind, whether it be on PC or RTX HDR or like PlayStation and Xbox's auto HDR features and different stuff like that. So first and foremost, right now I have it in standard mode. FPS mode, I haven't even really used it for FPS mode. I feel like it would, even with an FPS, it would have to take like a lot of tinkering. I don't know specifically what type of color and different stuff this is. RTS is really nice, but it is recommended for real-time strategy games, so I don't know if input lag is set differently and different stuff like that. But I took something from the RTS settings, and we'll do that in 1 second. Let me actually just hop into the game real quick, and then we'll go over more of the settings. So I'm actually going to do a gameplay video of this right afterwards. You might actually see some clips of it anyway throughout this video. But as I said, I've only beaten the first world so far. Okay, so put that down right there. We have... sorry, Astrobot just waving at me is kind of distracting me. Let me turn him around. Sorry. So we have it in standard mode, and then brightness, just like at the beginning, and it's going to be like a shortened version because we've already covered a good amount of settings. Now he's playing a PSP. Okay, anyway, brightness settings we have at max, just like before. Contrast 90, again, you guys know why. Gamma, the reason I have it at -2 is if you see at 0, it's like the picture, it doesn't look like washed out, but it almost looks like some of the background stuff or like even the front ground stuff has this almost like shadowy or like cloudy hue over it, which does not give a good look. And I feel like the colors punch a little bit more at -2. You could honestly go to -3 if you want to put it at minimum. I'm guessing LG and Samsung are a little bit different, but like specifically with this game and like a lot of the HDR games that I have found, it's best to raise that gamma or lower the gamma to -2. Now, PlayStation yet does not have Dolby Vision gaming. I know Xbox does and PC does, but in that case, you could either use gradation preferred because there's no automatic tone mapping to my understanding. I might be wrong on that. Please let me know if I am. But I like the brightness preferred, especially in this game. Honestly, in different games, I'd probably use the gradation preferred, but this is a very poppy and colorful game. Thank you, Astrobot, for just lying down. No longer distracting. You know why we have the 49? It applies to games whether you're playing something like The Last of Us or playing something like this or like Ratchet and Clank or Persona or whatever. It's really good to have that 49, so the transition between black levels to silhouette or whatever's in detail is a lot more seamless. Black equalizer I have at off. I think the only thing I have it like any setting on is in SDR mode, which we'll cover in a second. I might be wrong on a point, but maybe. HDR we have at high. You know why? Because, you know, we paid a lot of money for these displays, especially these newer ones, so we want it to be as bright and popping as possible. Color, same thing as watching movies and TV show. I keep at 50 because, you know, ridiculously accurate. A lot of these games, especially these developers, do a phenomenal job on the color profile and the color details and different stuff like that. It doesn't really need to be touched. Hue we have at 0. You don't want anything, the hues, to be too green or too red. I don't think I covered that, or maybe that wasn't a setting prior. Live color, in this mode, I find that games already pop enough, unlike movies and TV shows, because like the whole point of a lot of games is colorful, unless you're playing something like Bloodborne or whatever. But even in that case, there's still color, and that's not an HDR game. First of all, PlayStation, please hurry up and remake Bloodborne. I don't know why. Anyway, expert mode for color temperature, you guys know why. Warm, neutral, cool, they all mess with the color profile a little too much. And actually right here you can see, let me do that. Right here, I hope the camera's picking it up, there's like a subtle difference in color between like right here and as it goes out to right here, depending on where the sun is casting and the sun is shining and different stuff like that. And you lose that when you go to warm, neutral, and especially in cool. Like, it's all just like the exact same color. So in expert mode, you get those differences of colors and levels and different stuff like that that you don't get in the other color temperature profiles. I don't touch the advanced color adjustment. I should have covered that in the first portion video, but I don't touch that at all. Now, clarity. Sharpness, again, this is a 4K image. A lot of the games that I'm going to be playing in 4K, and if you're playing at 1080p, yeah, you can change it in different stuff like that, and it's like a case-by-case basis. In those cases, you probably want to use like 25 or whatever. I'm going to elaborate on that in the standard section, SDR, in a second, but for 4K content, 50 is what I found like the best. Oh, wait, no, sorry, I'm talking about the reality motion, but basically, for this setting, you want to keep 50. I'm sorry. I was going on a rampage to do that. But yeah, basically for 4K content, you want to keep this at 50. This is what I was talking about, but I guess you guys get the idea. Smooth gradation, low, again, just like prior. Motion, they don't even allow you to touch the motion in the gameplay settings, which they shouldn't, because, you know, a game's either 60, 30, or, you know, 120 FPS on this display, or thank God these newer displays have variable refresh rates, so a lot of games might not be locked at 60, but you can get between 60 and like 80 or 90 and different stuff like that. So basically, that's all my picture settings for gaming, and like, I mean, as you can see and like watching my other videos, it looks absolutely phenomenal. Now, last but not least, let's cover the SDR section. So lastly, we have some Demon Slayer on my Shield TV pulled up right here. And a big reason that I use the Shield TV for animation and a lot of my, or not all my SDR content, but like animation and different stuff and like Plex server files and different stuff like that, is because of the AI enhanced. It does a really good job with 1080p content and it looks absolutely phenomenal. And you know, the Apple TV does have upscaling, and the A95L itself already has good upscaling. So with that on top of it, it just looks downright phenomenal. So right here, we are going to do picture modes. So what I have found with anime anyway is cinema does look very nice, but I feel like the way that Japan color profiles and stuff, their their animation and stuff like that, that the standard mode actually looks better, in my honest opinion, than cinema. And yes, you do have to tinker with quite a bit of stuff to get it to look, you know, as good as cinema. But like, once you dial everything in and get everything looking good, it just looks absolutely amazing, and you get like a brighter image, because for some reason in SDR mode, which you don't see the HDR symbol up there, standard is brighter than cinema. So in this case, first thing we're going to cover is the brightness SDR. Max, again, it doesn't, you know, have the peaks of like 1,000 or whatever. I think SDR maxed out like 300 or something, but you want to keep it at max. You know, just for the sake of this video, we're going to use the cinema mode because there's a couple of settings I need to change for that anyway. Because I reset my TV the other day. Contrast, again, at 90. Gamma, SDR, the specific settings, I'm using a receiver, so it changes with each thing, and I have to keep changing it back or whatever. I know there's a way to like lock in the settings, but I'll do just that in a little bit. Black level 49. Like I said before, even in SDR transition between black levels and, you know, silhouette or whatever's in the shot is done very seamlessly at 49. HDR tone mapping, HDR isn't on, so that's why it does not exist. Black adjust, we do not have that on at all. Now in HDR mode, it really doesn't do as much as it does in SDR mode. It doesn't do as much as it does in HDR, but just for the sake of it, I have never found any reason to higher it and get like raised blacks even in SDR and different stuff like that. Advanced contrast enhancer, like I said, this is a setting that I've chosen myself, but I decided to have it on medium. I like the kind of aggression. Even in SDR, I feel like it does exactly the same. Peak luminance, again, maxes out at only about 300 nits, but you still want the TV to get as bright as possible. Now, color profile. Now, see, okay, as I said, I reset my TV the other day, so I'm still dialing in settings. But for color profile, anyway, for SDR, or wait, I know why the settings are different. The settings are different because I've set them in standard, but I also need to set them in Cinema Home. So anyway, for animation anyway, and let me actually go back to that so it just has that. For animation anyway, I have it set at 55. Now, the reason I have it set at 55 is because anime is already colorful by itself, but the Sony A95L and a lot of OLED displays already do a really good job of calibrating, of having colors that aren't oversaturated. Samsung might be an outlier or whatever, but I think a lot of you guys know what to do to make it, hone it in to get a more accurate color picture and different stuff like that. But I have it at 55 because I like that extra bit of punch. This is another thing. I have live color, you'll see right here, on medium instead of low. So reason that I have it on medium instead of low is because I like that extra punch, and like a lot of anime has, like, you know, people using special powers or Nen or water breathing techniques or just a whole bunch of different stuff. So having all these like special effects and stuff like that be really colorful is like a really cool thing. Expert, for the third time, you want the color to be as accurate as possible. Like literally, if you guys notice, like Tanjiro's, what is that? I know it's not a jacket, but you know, the green and black thing he's wearing. I'm blanking on the specific name of the article of clothing. But in cool mode, the cool, neutral, and warm, the color actually downright changes. It's not like the dark green hue that it is. It's like light, lima bean, and then like lime. Like it just like in the lime skittle. It's not accurate at all. And so that's why expert mode is best. So I have sharpness mode because it's 1080p content at 60. On this. So for Sony anyway, I guess I should have went over this earlier. For Sony, the 50 sets it at basically the baseline, and 60 is setting it, you know, like 10 above. So it is using like its upscaling stuff to sharpen image, but doesn't get jagged lines or artifacts. Reality creative motion, I have at a whopping 65 in this mode. No, that's not what it should be. It should not be 65 because I just said that the beginning of the video. Sorry, I was just reading out what I was saying, but I have it at 25. And because at 1080p content, you don't want it to be too sharp because it's going to give you jagged lines or like artifacts or whatever. And the TV already has really good upscaling. And then in addition, the NVIDIA Shield is doing upscaling, and you don't want to just like throw too many stuff at it because, you know, it can get a little bit much. Random noise reduction, I have off. Digital noise reduction, I have off. Smooth gradation, I have low, like I explained earlier. You don't want the scan lines, and in 1080p content, that's a lot more prevalent. Motion, I have motion flow off. As I say, you don't want it to mess with the motion at all. And then I also have Cinemotion off as well. Now, saying that, I hope you guys enjoy this video. This is something that I've wanted to do for a while, and I was really trying to figure out how exactly I wanted to do it. But as I said, have a discussion in the comment section below. If you guys have any questions or whatever that I can answer, or maybe somebody else can answer, please make sure to do that. Now, with saying that, I hope you guys enjoy this video. And with saying that, I hope you guys have a great day.